book lovers, it is G-Swizz here. I am here to talk about some character deaths that destroyed me. This is a 7 on Sunday. I'm the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future or suggest a topic. I really felt like doing this one because I've always wanted to do a video like this on my channel, but I've just never had the guts to, and you know what? I seem to have guts to. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to bring up a book on the screen, and as soon as I bring that book up, if that is a book that you have not yet read and you don't want to be spoiled for, I would highly suggest you mute that part of the video or skip to the next chapter. So what I'm going to do for this video is put some chapter stamps on this video so you can just click the next chapter stamp if you want to hear me talk about the next book, or if you don't want me to spoil the next book for you if you haven't yet read it, you could just skip to the chapter stamp that is the most appropriate for your viewing. I'm just going to do it that way because there are going to be spoilers here and I don't want to spoil a book series for you. But if you feel comfortable with spoilers and if you actually are watching this because you want to be prepared for specific character deaths, then hey, you've come to the right place. I'm honestly going to speak my mind. There ain't much you can do about it. I guess without further ado, I'm gonna get into this list. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. They're all sad. I'm gonna start off with House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. The death in here is what kicks off the plot. So I don't actually know whether the death is in the synopsis. Yes, actually the death is in the synopsis, but their name isn't. So if you don't want to be spoiled for who dies at the very beginning of the book, then skip to the next chapter. I know that this happened at the very beginning of the book, but it still hurts me so much that we had to let Danica go. She was a great character from the very beginning of the series. I was really enjoying my time with her. I knew that going into this book there was going to be murder mystery surrounding it, but oh my goodness, it was so heartbreaking. This whole book pretty much centers around Bryce living through her grief and how she's able to function after such a traumatic incident happened. I do love Bryce's journey throughout the book, and I know that Bryce's journey wouldn't have been made possible if the loss of Danica never happened, but at the very same time, Danica's an amazing person, and I love getting to read about her and the flashbacks or the previous moments that her and Bryce had and just their friendship. I loved their friendship so much, and something that I really want to see in the rest of the series is Bryce having an opportunity to make more friends and to make friends with people who get her at the level that Danica does. I would be absolutely distraught myself if I was to lose someone who was that close to me. When I first read the first few chapters, I was crying, and it was even more traumatic when the voice memo that was being recorded, all of that completely destroyed me. It hurts me even more to know that Danica's end was not peaceful. So that is the first death that I would have to say completely and utterly destroyed me. Now I'm going to be talking about Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. Now if you have not read the entirety of the Infernal Devices trilogy, I would highly recommend you skip to the next chapter. Okay, so I have two here. One is death of old age, and then the other is for the reason of illness. I'm going to be talking about both Will and Jem in this book. The ending of this book completely destroyed me. I understand that we get more time with Will Herondale in the Last Hour series, but it was still heartbreaking to know that Tessa will live a long life because she's immortal, but her husband will not live with her for the rest of her life. And of course, at the ending of the book, she is reunited with Jem after he essentially died in human form and then became a silent brother. But at the very same time, both parts of the book absolutely destroyed me. And to know that obviously she is able to have a life of both is great, but you know, there's still some loss there. A lot of us in the fandom wish that Cassandra Clare did write them as a polyamorous relationship because Will and Jem loved each other, Tessa and Will loved each other, Tessa and Jem loved each other. All of them loved each other to the point that it would have kind of made sense. Cassandra Clare is not shy to polyamorous relationships. She's done that in the Dark Artifices series, but this was just too heartbreaking. Unfortunately, in this instance, we could not have nice things. It's mostly heartbreaking because Tessa is immortal, period. The next book I'm gonna bring up is Flamecaster by Cindy Williams-Chimer. Now, you don't have to skip this chapter if you've read the entire book, because realistically, I've not read the entire book. I've only read the first few chapters, but there's a death in the first few chapters, and it immediately got me to put the book down. If you've not yet read Flamecaster, also, if you haven't read the original Seven Realms series, because this is a spin-off to the Seven Realms series, please don't continue on with this part. You will probably be heartbroken if you loved this character. So, I'm going to bring up the character right now and express my grief. Here we go. Why did Han Alistair have to die? He was the best character. In the Seven Realms series, it does give the characters in this series a spotlight to shine. I get it. But still, like, you have to start off the Shattered Realm series, a series that people will actually want to continue on with from the Seven Realms series, with the death of the main character of the previous series, who is arguably the best character in the previous series. You just literally kill him off like that. I wanted to enjoy the series and binge read it this month. Yeah, it's on my TBR for this month, but I can't bring myself to continue it. And you know what's funny? I actually knew that this was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to happen at the very beginning of the book. I accidentally did a Google search of something else to do with the Seven Realms series. And you know how Google has like a bunch of like listed questions? I kind of spoiled myself. There was a list of questions, and at the top of the list of questions, there was one that you could click to see the answer. So the question was, does Han Alistair die? I was thinking they might be talking about the Seven Realms series. I didn't actually consider the Shattered Realms series at the time that I clicked on it. So I clicked on it, and it says that Han Alistair dies in the first Shattered Realms book. So I thought to myself, for an entire year, okay, I'm preparing for this death. It's so funny that I prepared for this death, but I did not expect it to happen at the very beginning of the book series. And what I have to say to that is, Cinda, why? Why did you kill him off that quickly? If you want them to eventually move on to the next life, I don't know, like just make it a bit more epic and actually include them in the series for like a little bit of time. It infuriates me. I'm actually frustrated. I have not yet continued on with the Shattered Realms series. Like, I knew that Han Alistair was going to move on to the next life, but just I did not know that it was gonna happen like this. And I'm very bitter about it. Now I'm gonna bring up another death I did not see foreshadowed. It's going to be in this series right here. Girl at Midnight trilogy. It happens around the end of the book. Now, I understand that a lot of my viewers are currently reading the series. I do not want to spoil you. Once again, please skip to the next chapter or the most appropriate chapter if you want to continue on with this video and you don't want to be spoiled for this death. I cannot understand why the author killed off Caius. And the reason why I cannot understand it is because, similar to the Seven Realms series, except it happened at the end of the series rather than the beginning, there was no foreshadowing to it whatsoever. Just before filming this video, I read a Goodreads review that I wholly agree with, and they said that Caius's sacrifice was pretty cheap because, yes, of course, he died along with his sister in order to save the day. But the thing is, even though his sister is the villain and she likes to manipulate Caius into doing what she wants because she's got that sibling power over him, we don't have many flashback scenes and we don't get to see their true connection to the point that we can really buy into this. If there is something that I wanted Caius to learn out of this entire series, he needed to break free from that manipulative relationship with his sister. You can have family members who are manipulative and will get what they want, and he needed to break free from that attachment. But you know what he did instead? He decided to sacrifice himself with his sister because at the end of the day, him and his sister were in it for life until death. And that's a beautiful sentiment. But at the very same time, I think to myself, no, that shouldn't have happened. Caius should have stood up on his 2 feet. He should have actually killed his sister where she stood, literally in the first book or the second book. Like, he should have done that. And he could never bring himself to do that. And instead, what he decided to do was sacrifice himself with his sister because it would have been like a less painful situation for them. Him saying, finishing what we started, and you know, like, it's a beautiful sentiment. But if there was anything that the series was building up to, it would have been the fact that Caius would have actually been strong enough to defeat his own sister. But instead, he decides to end his own life with his sister. For me, it just doesn't make any sense. Understandable because he's manipulated by her, he's kidnapped by her, she does terrible things to him, and yet he's still so forgiving to her. This one really frustrates me, and this one I cried a lot at because I loved the series, but I completely disagree with the way that the author wrote it. And I understand, like, the author had their interpretation and this is the way that they wanted to end the series. But I don't think that it was the right thing to do because as someone who's been in manipulative family relationships, I would have liked to see the opposite message conveyed. They wanted to convey a different message. They wanted to convey a message about family ties. I get it. But if you wanted to convey a message about family ties, we could have gotten more past scenes with Caius and Tanaf, but we didn't. We don't know why Caius and Tanaf are so close. We don't know that. We're literally told but not shown. And that's what frustrates me about the ending of the series. The series overall was an enjoyable read and I really loved Echo's journey. But Echo lost the love of her life, or at least the love of her series, because he loved his sister more. And that's actually what makes me sad. Now I'm gonna bring up The Assassin's Blade. The Throne of Glass series is a series that a lot of you guys have read. But if you have not yet read the Throne of Glass series, by the way, the cover doesn't look like this. It actually looks like this. So if this cover looks familiar to you, and if you put it on your TBR, I would suggest you don't join me for the spoilery section. Skip to the next chapter. So we're gonna talk about Celaena's first love, who only makes an appearance in the novella collection in the prequel, and that's Sam Cortland. Just like in Crescent City when it was put in the premise, essentially. We all knew that Sam Cortland wasn't going to live, because when you start the Throne of Glass series, Celaena talks about her past with Sam, but Sam was just amazing. I loved reading about Sam Cortland and his and Celaena's adventures at the very beginning, and he was just so sweet, so kind, and we just got a few of those amazing scenes with them getting to know each other, and teenage Celaena getting to meet her first love. Like, that was just absolutely beautiful. So this one destroys me less, but it still destroys me thinking about it, because it wasn't fair the way that she lost him. I love that Celaena's drive to avenge his death continues on in the original series, and you get to see the characters from the prequel in the series and kind of how the grief that she had from losing her first love drives her and motivates her. But at the very same time, it doesn't soften the blow. He just didn't deserve the ending that he got. I don't really have much to say about this. It's been like around 4 years since I read The Assassin's Blade. It's one of my favorite novella collections of all time. Sam was an amazing character, and I do wish that we could have continued on having Sam in the series, but I'm happy that we got to experience him, and I'm happy that we got to experience young Celaena when we did. But yeah, no, I'm totally heartbroken for her. So this one is another book series that a lot of people have read on the booktube community, or you've watched the movies. That, my friends, is the ending of The Hunger Games. So if you've not yet read or watched Mockingjay, just skip on to the next chapter if you want to, because I have one more book I'm gonna talk about. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Mockingjay here. There are two deaths that I've got to mention. I think everybody finds the death of Finnick more sad, and the reason why they do is because, as opposed to Primrose's death, Finnick's death is very much brushed over. It literally is like 1 or 2 sentences of him getting attacked and then them having to move on from that. Like, he's part of the crew, Squad 451. There are many casualties in that squad that go through the final battle, but because everybody spent more time with Finnick, and he literally just had his wedding, and him and his wife literally just conceived a baby, it obviously makes it harder for us to accept this loss. No, he made the ultimate sacrifice in choosing to be in Squad 451 and to cut his honeymoon short. Yeah, no, that messed with me. That's really sad, and thinking about it, it makes me very emo. But when I first read it, I wasn't really attached to Finnick. The more that I think about it, it destroys me. Whereas the idea of Primrose dying, at first, it really broke my heart, because Katniss started this all to pretty much make the sacrifice in order to save her sister by going into the arena. Prim definitely did deserve better, but it makes sense. In war like this, it doesn't come without sacrifice. Not everybody is safe. Sacrifice that Katniss made at the very beginning meant something, even though it meant her death in the end. Panem is free at the end of the day, and it sucks, and Prim made that decision to be a medic at that time. I think that definitely makes a lot more people not like Gale, and like, I'm all for that. It hurts me more than Finnick, only because at the very beginning when I found out that this was gonna happen, I was one of those people who thought, what was the point of the series then? But yeah, no, it wasn't just about one life. It was about 12 to 13 districts' lives who were saved at the very end of the day. All the sacrifices in here were hard. So then we move on to, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that this one here is coming. So if you skipped all the way to the end of the video just to watch me talk about Allegiant, hello, hi, I see you, I recognize you. So here I'm going to be talking about probably the death that destroyed me the most. And this goes without saying, if you have not yet read the Divergent series, if you have not been spoiled for the Divergent series, if you've only watched the movies, don't continue on. Just read the books. Or if you don't want to read the books, you think that they're a waste of time based on what everybody says about the ending of the series, okay. Good for you. I'm just about to spoil it, so here we go. 7.5 years ago, I was sitting in my bedroom that I shared with my sister, and I don't hold any resentment for my sister. Hope if you're watching this, hi. I'm just sharing this because of how I felt at the time, but I have no resentment against you whatsoever. I got up to, was it chapter 50? But it was Triss's last scene. But the hard thing about this, right, is that you think that she's gonna make it out alive. She essentially goes through death serum, and because she's divergent, she's immune to it, and that's amazing. And then bloody David comes out of nowhere and shoots Triss. It hurt. It hurt. I really wanted to hurt David. I know 4 did as well. I was all for it. The scene where David got injected by the memory loss serum and 4 still wanted to hurt him even though he didn't remember what he did. I felt that. Thinking about it, I had so many vengeful thoughts. It was just so unfair. So I read that scene and I was in my room on my single bed, and my sister's single bed was on the other side of the room. Oh my god, I'm just remembering all the feelings. Okay, I was crying and I ran to the bathroom and I was hyperventilating and just was looking in the mirror, and I was just like, oh my god, Triss is dead, Triss is dead, Triss is dead, Triss is dead. And then I came back to the room and I just could not take it anymore. I had to put my book down. I could not continue on with the book. Hope ended up saying to me, it's just a book, get over it. And I remember just thinking, this is the first character I've ever been attached to. I literally cannot take it. Triss was literally my best friend. I could see myself in her. This is why it breaks me, because when you're a teenager and getting into a book series for the very first time, and you finally see someone who you can fully identify with and someone who you can see every day and go back into a book series every day, it makes the loss of them even more heartbreaking. This is exactly how I got into reading. Am I angry at Veronica for what she did? No. I am not angry at Veronica for what she did, and anybody who is sending her death threats to this day need to stop. I understand the grief, I understand the hurt, but this is how she chose to end the story. And if anything, as opposed to what I mentioned before about the Savage Dawn, this one made sense. It had meaning to it. Kat and I talked about this in one of our previous videos. I think it was the BookTube Bestie tag, where she was talking about how she was annoyed with Triss because Caleb could have done it. But that would have been out of character for Triss, because as much as Caleb has done so many terrible things in this series, he's a terrible brother to Triss, and he does not deserve Triss's forgiveness. But he gets it because Triss's character traits, based on the factions that she possesses, is that she's selfless and she's brave. Because she is selfless, she will put other people before her. So what she decided to do was keep Caleb safe and to preserve his life. I get it. I mean, I would have wanted Caleb to die. Out of all the priors, I don't think that he should have been the one to live, but it made sense following Triss's journey. And you know, Triss felt like she needed to sacrifice herself in Insurgent, but she had the wrong thoughts about it. She thought to herself that she needed to sacrifice herself because of the terrible things that she did. Whereas in this book, she goes through a development arc where she realized, no, I don't need to sacrifice myself for the things that I've done wrong. I need to sacrifice myself for the greater good. And that means the humanity in my life, who I might not forgive, they also are worth saving. That was the message of Divergent. Take it or leave it, but it was a very important message. I have no resentment against Veronica Roth. I think that the series finished in such a symbolic way, and whether you are annoyed at Triss for deciding to sacrifice her life instead of getting Caleb to do it, you know, that is your opinion, but I think that she thought this out. A lot of people have commented on my videos saying that Triss is literally the worst character because of all the decisions that she makes in the series, and I don't agree with that, but okay, that's your opinion. Like, I get that. As much as I was heartbroken by this death, I'm actually very satisfied by it. What I hate about the Divergent movies is that they make Triss the chosen one in the second movie, when Triss was never a hero until she sacrificed her life for the greater good. Triss Pryor became a name in the series, and she became the symbol of the revolution when she died. That's what distinguishes it, obviously, from the Hunger Games, because Katniss Everdeen is like the Mockingjay in the Hunger Games, and she never dies. But in this situation, she became a symbol of hope and freedom after she made that sacrifice. I'm happy that everybody gets to remember. Everybody gets to remember her sacrifice. That's going to be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at BookTok at GSwizzle. And I also have Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/GSwizzle. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.